This Steam Deck competitor is something different. How's it going, everyone? As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne, and this is Deck Ready, my channel all about the Steam Deck and other gaming handhelds. Because today we are talking about the Ioneo slide. Ioneo was kind enough to send this over for me to take a look at, and I was immediately excited because when I was a kid, all my friends had T-Mobile Sidekicks and LG NV2s, and I was stuck with a Motorola Razr through the entirety of high school until I got an iPhone right when I went into college. But I was always so jealous of my friends, especially when I would play games like Def Jam Fight for New York, and the whole interface was run through a Sidekick. It was just so cool. So now I have a handheld PC that is a 7840U in it, which basically means it's on par with the Lenovo Legion Go and the ROG Ally. So that's pretty cool, isn't it? We'll jump into that in a second. I just want to do some quick housekeeping here. If you could subscribe to the channel, that would be awesome. And on top of that, I was just on the Nerd Nest podcast. I was excited with how many people were excited to see me on there. I've done a lot of horror podcasts in my day, a lot of video game podcasts, but I've never had so many people reach out and tell me they enjoyed something that I guested on. So yeah, if you watched it, thanks a lot. It was really fun talking to Rich and Bill. They're two of my good friends here on YouTube, and then getting to meet the Fox and meet Retro Game Core. That was like the icing on the cake. So it's a really good episode about our worst take of the year. All right, so let's jump into the Ioneo slide. If you've seen the channel before or you watched any of the other people I just mentioned, you've probably seen the Ioneo Lite before. It's basically like a handheld PC that's built into a Switch Lite form factor, which is really cool. I think the utility there is awesome, and being able to take something that powerful on the go. Remember, it has a 7840U in it. That provides real utility and makes it a true competitor, in my opinion, to something like the Steam Deck or the ROG Ally, and especially the Lenovo Legion Go. I just picked one of those up, and that thing is huge. I like how big the screen is, but man, comparing that to this, it's kind of crazy. But the only real difference between the Ioneo Lite and this, the slide, is that, of course, this has the slide up screen, and the mechanism on it is great. It slides up, it slides down. The only thing that I don't love about it is that there's like weird little wires underneath the screen, which you can see here, and they're not really glued down or anything like that, and I feel like they could come off pretty easily, so I wouldn't like stick your fingers under the screen when you're sliding it up and down. And of course, the reason for this slide up 6-inch screen is that it has a full keyboard underneath, so you've got all the keys you could want, and like I mentioned, that brings me back to the T-Mobile Sidekick days. Now, initially, I had a good, not great first impression of this slide up mechanism until I went on the website to take notes for this video, and I realized that the reason the screen feels a little loose, like you can see it wobbling there, it's because it actually is supposed to be loose, so you can actually orient it up. It goes all the way up to 30 degrees, and having it tilted like that unlocked the full potential. It got rid of the weird like viewing angle issues I was having with it when I was playing at my kitchen table, and then when I had my elbows propped up with it like this and the screen tilted 30 degrees, that was perfect. So I think that actually is really cool that it tilts up, and it feels nice. Like, it doesn't feel like it's gonna break. I just slide it up and down. I keep it next to my computer when I edit, and I just slide it up and down all day, and it never breaks. So I think this thing's build quality is a big improvement over the first Ioneo device I ever got, which was the Ioneo Next, well before the Steam Deck ever came out, and that one broke within 3 days. So this one, I've had it for around a week and a half, and I've just been sliding it at my desk like a little fidget spinner, and it works great. As far as games go, I didn't really want to push it too hard with this thing because I don't want to play first-person shooters like Call of Duty or RoboCop Rogue City on a 6-inch screen. So what I did is I downloaded Burnout Paradise Remastered, which is a game that I have a love-hate relationship with. The love part is that it's my favorite racing game of all time. The hate part is that it just has never worked right on the Steam Deck until like 2 weeks ago. So it's fresh in my mind because I put around 6 hours into it on the Steam Deck. I downloaded it on here, realized that because it's an EA game, it doesn't have cloud save, so I had to start over. But I played for like 3 more hours on this thing. It didn't drain the battery. It got it to around 40%, I want to say, after around 3 hours, and I was running it maxed out, 1080p, 60 frames per second. I never saw the frame rate drop once. But the biggest thorn in this thing's side is 100% the speakers. They're just bad. They're flat out not great. They're tinny. They're low volume. They just sound hollow. I really don't know what's going on with the speakers because I've had this note for every Ioneo device that I've gotten in the mail, and I wish they would just spend some time building up the speakers in these things, because if you compare them to the Steam Deck, Deck, it's like night and day. But even comparing it to the ROG Ally or the Legion Go, I mean, those two don't have amazing speakers, but they blow this thing out of the water. And if you're sitting there like, oh, it's a smaller device, I use headphones on my Switch Lite all the time, I'll just do that on that. This doesn't have a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, so you're stuck with Bluetooth, which there is an app you can get called Magic Pods. It's a Windows app. It's like 99 cents, and it does what Macs do to account for latency when you're using AirPods or other Bluetooth headphones. And your other option is the Razer Hammerhead Hyperspeeds or Razer Hammerhead Pros. Those will have either a dongle that comes with them that goes in the USB-C port, or if you get the PC version, it has a low latency Bluetooth mode. I use those on the Steam Deck all the time, and the latency is imperceivable, so you're kind of stuck with that on this. But yeah, I think a 3.5 millimeter jack would go a long way. But most of all, I hope for whatever future revision they do, they increase the quality of the speakers, because that is the biggest pain point on this. And it's such a big upgrade over so many of its competing devices that, like, if they fix that, that would really make this something I would recommend going out and buying immediately. So really, when it comes down to it with the Ioneo slide, you gotta weigh in your head how important this slide up mechanism is to you. Like for me, I think it's really cool. I wish it didn't have these like wires on the back of it sticking out, because those give me anxiety, because I've broken my Steam Deck a couple times, and it's not like the days of the Nintendo DS anymore or the Game Boy SP where you could chuck that thing at a wall or hit it with a tennis racket and it would be just fine. Now it's like you drop the Steam Deck 2 feet and the right bumper's broken forever, and you gotta wait 2 weeks for an RMA. So seeing wires sticking out wrapped around like a little diode or a screw or something like that, that just screams hardware failure to me. But I've slid it up and down like probably 1,000 times, not even on, and it's working great. So Ioneo is still the reigning champ of having a slide up screen with wires attached to it. And also, I think it is cool that this can tilt up. So if that is important to you, like you have the nostalgia for the T-Mobile Sidekick, for the LG NV2, I know that phone doesn't slide, it flips, but it still had the full keyboard. I think you know you're the right target audience for this. But if you're someone who wants the Switch Lite form factor, you could get the Ioneo Lite and not have this slide up screen, and it performs the exact same. So yeah, I think either way, you know if this is for you or not. But I still really like this form factor. I hope whatever future release they send over, they have better speakers, because that's the one pain point hurdle that they still have to get over. And the cool thing about the keyboard is that, like, if you've used any Windows devices, whether you're talking about the ROG Ally, the Legion Go, even the Steam Deck to some extent, the Steam Deck does a better job with the keyboard because you have the two touchpads. And I was a hater at first of the two thumb typing, but now I love it, and it really is a lot better than what you get on the Ally or the Legion Go, because both of those, when you pull up the keyboard, it obscures half the screen no matter what. It obscures the top half, it obscures the bottom half, and it does not look great. So having a full-size keyboard ready to go at any time, I think that's really cool and actually like useful. I saw some other reviewers saying that it feels gimmicky, but like when you're typing in Windows, especially during the first time setup, when you're downloading all these different apps like Opera GX or like Apple Music or Steam or anything really, you have to go to the browser and type all this stuff in, and it cuts down on the amount of time setup takes overall by quite a bit, just having this full-size keyboard ready to go that you don't get on the other devices. Like typing with your two thumbs on the Lenovo Legion Go, good luck. I've got big hands, that thing is way too big. Same thing goes for the ROG Ally, it's too long, so you have to use a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse. I don't really want to do that. I just would rather use the device as intended, which is as a handheld, and this, so far, outside of the Steam Deck, is the only one that gives you the experience that you would actually want, which is being able to type whatever you want, whenever you want, and it works perfectly. So yeah, I'll leave this link down in the description. Thanks so much to Ioneo for sending it over. I really appreciate it. It's not sponsored or anything like that. They just sent it over for free, but you know, it is cool to get that stuff because then I can make videos on it. All right, so the second thing I want to talk about is this Monster Hunter Rise drama. So we've heard all this news lately about Capcom updating the DRM in their games. They took out Denuvo from a lot of them because Denuvo was causing issues. I will never forget the launch of Resident Evil Village when they triggered Denuvo's check when a werewolf enemy would die. So if you shot a werewolf like 15 times, there would always be a micro stutter right when that death animation started. There was no way to fix it. And then magically, like a year after the game came out, Capcom removed the DRM, and lo and behold, that issue was fixed. And I played the whole game with that shitty issue, and it really bugged me. So now they're done with Denuvo, and they have a new form of DRM that they've been adding to their games for months. And at first there was a huge controversy where people said it was breaking all of their games on Steam Deck, and that there's no source, right? Like, they never showed any evidence. They never showed any games where it was actually happening. And look, I'm the biggest DRM hater of all. I don't want anything in my game that's going to make it run worse, especially with the state of PC ports in 2024. They're not great. So like, anything that's going to impact performance, I don't want it in the game. So like, I'm not trying to be a DRM defender, but like, if you're going to make claims like that, it makes you look worse if you have no evidence to back it up, and no one did at the time. But that was until the other day when I sat down at my kitchen table to play some Monster Hunter Rise. I am fully addicted to this game after playing Dragon's Dogma. I started it up. I'm on the 5-star hunts and the village quests. I haven't done the hub quests yet, but I'm working my way up to that. I'm trying to get some better armor and weaponry. It's awesome. But I went and sat down to play it at my counter, and it wouldn't boot up. So I go to Reddit, and then right when I'm on Reddit, I get a text from my friend Dustin, who's on the Sacred Symbols podcast, and he's like, yo, check this out. And I check it out, and the DRM broke the game. It made it so it couldn't launch. Now, of course, everyone went into an uproar on this, and I understand that, right? Like, DRM sucks. It really blows when you've owned a game for a long time, and when DRM gets added, it breaks the game on your device. And you should be able to get a refund at that point if they're not going to fix it. The problem is Capcom and Valve were both extremely quick to address this. Like, Capcom put up a patch note almost immediately that said they were aware of issues with the new DRM and what it was causing in terms of like the game not being able to start up. They said they were working on it rapidly and we get the fix out as fast as possible. Of course, you could criticize them by saying they shouldn't have put the DRM in the first place, but like, I don't know, they already did it. So it's like, yeah, you can criticize them for that. I like the quick action on their part, but then Valve, within an hour of this even happening, had a hot fix for Proton that they released, and that fixed everything. So I understand on the one hand why people were upset, because I sure was for a few minutes when I thought that this game was not going to be playable for at least a few days, because that's how it usually works. I've been playing this game at night, and having it interrupted like that really sucks, because, you know, when you go to play a game like that, you lose the ability the longer you don't play. Right? Like, you want to keep things fresh in your mind, especially if you're switching weapons a lot. You've got to remember all the combos and everything like that. So 3 days not being able to play it is actually quite a long time, and that would blow. But keeping in mind that it was fixed so quickly, I just don't really see the issue. I understand that Capcom, the reason they want to put this DRM in is to stop modding, but all of my mods in Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen work fine, and I'm pretty sure this DRM is in that game. And yeah, I modded everything from the stamina drain. I eliminated that. I eliminated the weight carry gain. I put on an EMB that made it look a little nicer. I put on a mod that let it stretch out to like 16 by 10 because the game didn't natively support that. I switched it to Vulkan. So I added quite a few mods to that game to make it the ultimate experience on my Steam Deck, and it still worked fine. So if they don't want to, if they want to mod games so that the multiplayer doesn't get, if they want to block like multiplayer mods that allow you to cheat in something like Monster Hunter, I'm honestly fine with that. It doesn't bug me at all. I don't want people cheating in the games I play because that ruins the experience for me, a non-cheater. Single player stuff, whatever, mod the shit out of it, do whatever you want. But when people are like getting mad because they're putting DRM in to stop them from already cheating, it's like you created the problem by cheating and or stealing the game. So I have less sympathy there. I get it. The game preservation is important, and if we got to the point where the game wasn't offered up for sale and there was a crack for it, I would be like totally on board with that. But as long as the game is for sale, I just like am never going to be on board with fully pirating a game. It feels wrong to me personally. So yeah, I'm glad Valve fixed the situation relatively quickly. It was within an hour, and it's hard to fault them when something gets fixed that quick. Anyway, guys, that's all I've got for you today. I'm throwing an intro in this video because everyone complains when I don't. As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and shape on.